Let me ask you a question. When you look at his face, what do you see? I see a lot of things, and I'm sure you do too. Today marks 1 year since he passed away, and I feel like saying a few things about him. I see the face of someone who dealt with so much pain and neglect throughout his life, and yet, despite all of that, he wanted to make others feel better because he knew how it felt to be pessimistic, hopeless, suicidal, and he wanted people to feel like their lives are worth living. I see the face of someone who was a reject, who was disliked by the media, and yet he still maintained a large cult following. And I think the fact that he got so much backlash is part of the reason why his fans felt so connected to him. He had fans that were bullied in school or had no friends, or they just felt like outcasts. Not all of his fans, but quite a few of them did, and they saw X as their best friend. They saw him as someone who also got treated like shit by the rest of the world, but never let it get to him. I see the face of someone who was tough, someone who was known for fighting and being quite intimidating at first glance, and yet he was never afraid to show his emotions. There's still a lot of stigma behind men showing their emotions, but not only was X open to showing his feelings, he also tried to encourage his fans to do so too. His willingness to show his vulnerability is one of the reasons why people were so connected to him. I see the face of someone that started out like anyone else. He was just a guy with a cheap USB microphone that downloaded almost every single instrumental he ever rapped or sang on, like any other aspiring rapper. His resources were so limited to the point of not having an engineer, and yet he used all of it to his advantage. With the power of his voice, his lyrics, his creativity, his emotion, the instrumentals weren't originally made for him, but they became his because of what he added to them. His beginnings were so simple to the point where anyone watching this video could do the exact same thing, and yet because X had so much talent and such a unique image and perspective compared to most musicians, he became so huge despite starting from such a small place. I see the face of someone that loved to learn new things. He was fascinated by the laws of the universe, meditation, astral projection. He loved listening to all kinds of music too, which really shaped him into being so different from everyone else. I see the face of someone who didn't care about playing it safe. He made music that spanned multiple genres, and he wasn't afraid to take risks. He gained fame for aggressive songs to the point where people thought he just showered in all of his music, and yet his debut solo studio album, 17, didn't have a single aggressive song on it. I see the face of someone that could have done so much more. I remember a year ago, I thought about how beautiful it would have been if he actually lived a longer life. I would have loved to have seen him do interviews in his 40s, reflecting on the kind of person he was when he was younger, how he would have evolved as an artist, as a person, the kind of music he could have done, just everything in general. I see the face of someone that passed away a year ago today, and yet I think even 10, 20, 30 years from now, he will still keep gaining new fans that will listen to his music, and it will help them go through hard times. The next generation of musicians will make music that was inspired by X. I see the face of someone that made me realize my true potential. I uploaded around 100 videos on YouTube over the course of 2.5 years that barely got any views, and the first video I made that blew up was my 40-minute tribute to X, and anyone who knew me before I uploaded that video would know that I hated making long videos. Like, anything longer than 10 minutes just annoyed me because I didn't like spending too much time on one video. Most of my videos were pointless and random, and I rarely took myself seriously. Long Live X was unlike anything I made before, and yet I felt the need to make it because I hated the kinds of videos that came out after he passed away, and I really wanted to make an artistic tribute that would hopefully help his fans out too, as well as myself, because even if it just gained 50 views like the other videos I made at the time, I still would have felt content because I really needed to make that video so that I could cope with his death. Even though I never made a video that long or that emotional before, I feel as if X's words guided me to the point where I just knew what I needed to do with that video. Even though it took a lot of effort to make, I think it's because X's words were so powerful. That's why the video was as good as it was. I just needed to piece everything together, and I think anyone who's passionate and knows how to edit can make a video just as good, if not better, than the one that I made. X and Peep taught me that as long as you're passionate about what you're making and you put your heart and soul into it, it will connect with other people. I see the face of someone that made at least 5 million kids happy. I see the face of someone who changed my life. I see Jase Dwayne Ricardo Onfroy, also known as XXXTentacion. I love you all, bad vibes forever.